Hey guys, this is Fixer Med. Welcome back to my high-yield anatomy review series for the USMLE Step 1, NBME CBSE, and NBME CAS examinations. In this series, I will be covering a broad overview of the discipline of anatomy across various organ blocks for these examinations. This will be part 51 of my multi-part video series of doing so. Without any further delay, let's go ahead and get started on today's content. Let's start off by taking a look at ophthalmic veins. Superior ophthalmic vein communicates anteriorly with the facial angular vein. Inferior ophthalmic vein communicates through the inferior orbital fissure with the pterygoid plexus of veins. Both veins pass posteriorly through the superior orbital fissure and drain into the cavernous sinus. Let's next take a look at layers of the scalp. Skin contains numerous sweat glands, sebaceous glands, and hair follicles. Connective tissue, dense superficial fascia containing nerves and blood vessels. Aponeurosis, epicranial. Fibrous epicranial aponeurosis connecting the frontalis and occipitalis parts of the occipitofrontalis muscle. Loose areolar tissue. Allows the three more superficial layers to move over the skull surface. Acts like a sponge with numerous potential spaces that can distend with fluid due to injury or infection. Pericranium, the periosteum covering the outer surface of the skull bones. Let's next take a look at the innervation of the skin of the face. The skin of the face is primarily supplied by branches of the three divisions of the trigeminal nerve, cranial nerve 5. A small area over the angle of the mandible is supplied by the great auricular nerve, C2 to C3, from the cervical plexus. Alright guys, now that we have covered all of the content, let's go ahead and take a look at some questions to review the knowledge you have gained so far. A 34-year-old man presents to the emergency department with severe pain and swelling around his right eye following a recent sinus infection. Examination reveals proptosis, protrusion of the eye, and restricted eye movements. A diagnosis of cavernous sinus thrombosis is suspected. Which of the following veins is most likely involved in spreading the infection to the cavernous sinus? All right, I think I gave you guys enough time here. I'm going to move on to see what the correct answer is and what the reasoning behind it is. If you need more time, feel free to pause the video. Otherwise, moving on now. The correct answer is B, inferior ophthalmic vein. The inferior ophthalmic vein communicates through the inferior orbital fissure with the pterygoid plexus of veins and drains into the cavernous sinus. This anatomical pathway allows infections from the face, orbit, or sinuses to spread to the cavernous sinus, potentially leading to cavernous sinus thrombosis. All right, let's go ahead and see why the other answer choices are incorrect. The incorrect choices can be explained as follows. A. Angular vein. While the angular vein, a branch of the facial vein, does communicate with the superior ophthalmic vein, it is not as directly involved in drainage to the cavernous sinus as the ophthalmic veins themselves. See maxillary vein. The maxillary vein is part of the pterygoid plexus of veins, which is associated with deeper structures in the face, but does not directly drain into the cavernous sinus. D. Retromandibular vein. The retromandibular vein drains the deeper parts of the face, but does not have a direct connection to the cavernous sinus. E. Superficial temporal vein. The superficial temporal vein drains the scalp and temporal region, and it does not have a direct anatomical connection to the cavernous sinus. All right, now that we have covered this question, let's move on to look at the next question. A 24-year-old man is brought to the emergency department after being involved in a motorcycle accident. He has a deep laceration on his scalp that penetrates through several layers. The attending physician notes that the injury extends down to the layer that allows for significant movement of the scalp. Which of the following is the deepest layer likely affected by this injury? All right, I think I gave you guys enough time here. I'm going to move on to see what the correct answer is and what the reasoning behind it is. If you need more time, feel free to pause the video. Otherwise, moving on now. The correct answer is D, loose areolar tissue. The loose areolar tissue layer is the fourth layer of the scalp and is notable for its sponge-like structure, which allows the more superficial layers of the scalp, skin, connective tissue, and aponeurosis to move over the skull. This layer also contains numerous potential spaces that can be distended with fluid due to injury or infection, making it significant in cases of scalp trauma. All right, let's go ahead and see why the other answer choices are incorrect. The incorrect choices can be explained as follows. A. Skin. The skin is the outermost layer of the scalp and contains sweat glands, sebaceous glands, and hair follicles. It does not allow for significant movement of the scalp over the skull. B. Connective tissue. This is the second layer, a dense superficial fascia that contains nerves and blood vessels. While it provides some flexibility, it is not the layer that primarily allows for scalp movement. C. Aponeurosis, epicranial. The third layer is a fibrous sheet connecting the frontalis and occipitalis muscles. Although it plays a role in scalp mobility, it is not as mobile as the loose areolar tissue. E. Pericranium. The pericranium is the periosteum covering the outer surface of the skull bones and is the deepest layer of the scalp. It does not contribute to the movement of the scalp and is involved in the healing of bone fractures. All right, now that we have covered this question, let's move on to look at the next question. A 50-year-old man presents to the clinic with numbness and tingling over the right side of his face, specifically the forehead, cheek, and jaw. Upon examination, the physician suspects a neurological condition affecting the facial skin innervation. Which of the following nerves is most likely responsible for the sensory supply of the affected areas? All right, I think I gave you guys enough time here. I'm going to move on to see what the correct answer is and what the reasoning behind it is. If you need more time, feel free to pause the video. Otherwise, moving on now. The correct answer is D, trigeminal nerve, cranial nerve 5. The trigeminal nerve is responsible for the sensory innervation of the skin of the face. It has three divisions, the ophthalmic, V1, maxillary, V2, and mandibular, V3 branches, which supply the forehead, cheek, and jaw, respectively. The described symptoms align with the sensory distribution of the trigeminal nerve. All right, let's go ahead and see why the other answer choices are incorrect. The incorrect choices can be explained as follows. A, facial nerve, cranial nerve 7. The facial nerve primarily provides motor innervation to the muscles of facial expression and does not supply sensory innervation to the skin of the face. B, great auricular nerve, C2 to C3. This nerve supplies sensation to the skin over the angle of the mandible and the auricle of the ear. It does not innervate the forehead, cheek, or jaw. C, lesser occipital nerve, C2. This nerve supplies the skin of the scalp posterior and superior to the ear, not the forehead, cheek, or jaw. E, vagus nerve, cranial nerve 10. The vagus nerve provides parasympathetic innervation to many internal organs and some sensory innervation to parts of the ear and throat, but does not innervate the skin of the face. All right, guys, that is all I have for the video today. As always, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this if they are beneficial to you. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to type them up in the comment section below. Anyways, guys, this is FixerMed signing off. Be sure to have a great day, everyone. Good luck studying as always, and goodbye.